Talk to Hillel Gemara. So yesterday we learned that the Mishnah was really speaking about two separate cases, because we had Ze Omer Anim Tosiyah, the Ze Omer Anim Tosiyah, and then we had Ze Omer Kul Shali, the Ze Omer Kul Shali. The Gemara told us that because the Mishnah is referring to a case of Metziah as well as the case of Mekach or Memkar, because in either case there could be a Mokim to be Moyer Heter as to why he's lying. So in the case of Metziah, the reason why somebody might grab the Metziah, even though he knows he doesn't have a right to it, is because he figures the guy's not losing any money. He found something, so I'm going to take part of his Metziah away. Therefore, we'll tell him to swear so that he will give up on this lie. On the other side, there's a svar to say, because the fellow says, listen, I need this item, he needs this item. I'm going to pay for it. So there's no loss to him. Let him go find another store that sells it. So because of the two svaras, inside by Mekach HaMemkar, inside by Metziah, the Mishnah tells us that you have to swear. Okay, Gavaldik. So we are now up to Mekach HaMemkar, which is about 10 lines from the top on the basement base. Mekach HaMemkar Zoklimar. What is the suffix over here? Why don't we just see who paid? As Rashi says, Nishal esa moicher. Why don't we just ask the moicher, the seller, Mimi kibol demeha? From whom did he accept the money? The Tanya, the Kedushin, the Gemara Kedushin tells us, Neman Bala Mekach loimer. The Bala Mekach is believed to say, Lo zeh mocharti, v'lo zeh loy mocharti. The Afal Gav the Messiah, even though the Gemara says there, if the seller still has the item in his hands, only then is he believed to say who is the purchaser. Once the item is out of the hands of the seller, he's not believed to say who bought it. The owner doesn't pay so much attention to remember who the object was sold to. They were both after him and trying to buy it from him. So what's the Gemara's kasha here of Alexa Zuzi Iman Nakat? Because now the object is no longer in the hands of the moicher. So the Gemara Hakimna Hasam, there the Gemara says it's b'denakat Zuzi mit her value. The Gemara says over there that the discussion over there was when he accepted money from both of the potential buyers. One, he sold it to fair and square. The other fellow was forced into him. He forced him to take the money. The kivan deloy alei ramya lasude, since he doesn't need to say edus as to who bought it. Why? Because it's no longer in his hands. Loy dakulahai, he won't remember lias niskar mishahochim ilafanav. He's not going to be so focused. Once he is still, as long as he still has the object in his hands, he has to know who it was sold to. But once it's out of his hands, he doesn't have to remember anymore. But if he only accepted money from one of the purchasers, then then he will remember who paid. So that's why our Gemara is asking, assuming that only one paid, but Zokt Gemara lo tzricha did nakat b'tavai. In fact, just like over there in the Gemara, he accepted money from both people. Mechad midaite, one paid him because he accepted payment. Umechad b'lakoich, one just threw the money at him. V'lo yodana, and we don't know mi who midaite, who was the one that was midaite, umiu b'lakoich, and that's why there's an argument here between these two people. Zokt Rashi lo tzricha did nakat b'tavai. Hachi yasinon. We don't know. Rashi says, they didn't know. Even if the Moicher did know who he accepted Mois from, Balkorche, and who Midaitoi, we wouldn't believe him. Once they're gone. Because as long as they're still in front of him, he remembers. But after that, he doesn't remember anymore. He has other things to focus on. So it seems like our Mishnah is not going to be consistent with the Tana Ben Nanas. Why? Because Rashi tells us A chenveni who has his ledger book, elu ve'elu boin lebezdin al minas lishava. These two people who are arguing, who have this dispute, are going to come to Bezdin to swear. Echad mehen l'shav. One of them is going to be a liar. What was the case? Amar balabais lechenveni. A balabais told the chenveni, Tain levni chitim v'diner v'lai l'shalom. I'd like you to give my son a dinner's worth of chitin, and don't worry, I'll pay you. Or he told the chenveni, Oilepoilim b'sela mois shanichayi b'scharim v'lai l'sela. Give my workers a sela, and I will come and pay you a sela. And what happened is who Omer Nasati, the merchant said, I gave the money to the payalim or the chitim to the child, but who Omer Loinatal, and either the payalim said we never got it, or the child says I didn't get it. Ushneim Tov Mis Balabais, and now both parties are among the Balabais. The payalim say we want to get paid, and the Chevani is saying, I want you to pay me, reimburse me for paying them. So the loch is Shneim Nishboin V'Noitlet. They both swear. The store owner swears that I laid out the money as per the instructions of the Balabais, and therefore he owes me money. And the Poyel swears I never got paid. V'Noitlet Balabais, and the Balabais has got to pay double. That's what the Gemara says there. But Benanis argued, Amar Benanis, Ketzad Elu Ve'elu Boin L'Dei Shavua Shav. How could you make two people swear when you know one of them is surely swearing falsely? And therefore, Elashneim Noitlin Peloi Shavua. So Zok Gemara, our mission that says that they each swear, and it's likely one of them is lying, will not be consistent with Benanis, because Benanis would not have let them swear. Like Benanis. The Benanis, so Amar Ketzad Elu Ve'elu Boin L'Dei Shavua Shav. And here we are letting him swear. So Gemara, no, this is consistent with Benanis. You know why? Afilu Tema Benanis, Hasam Vadai Ika Shavua Shav. There, someone is for sure lying. Either the Poilim were paid, and then the Poilim are lying, or the Chenveni did not pay them, and the Chenveni is lying. But Hacha, it's possible to justify that both of them are saying the truth. Why? It's unlikely but possible that they both picked up this Metziah at exactly the same time, and therefore they were both koinit, and they each do own 50%. As Rashi says, and therefore each one thinks anihik batiyat chila, bekula shali, but really only half is his, and therefore when he swears that he has half of it, that's the truth. When you make a maybe it's possible that the moicher sold it to both of them simultaneously. Zok Gemara, okay, so our Mishnah does jive with Benanis, but I still maintain that the Mishnah cannot be like Sumchis. Who is Sumchis? We learned about Sumchis in Barakama. Ashar shtois tapara, and there was a dead baby beside this para. And the question was, was this baby dead there because as a result of the negicha, and then the owner of the shar will be chayiv, or did the animal already miscarry before it was shtoist? It happened to be shtoist right after it missed, and therefore that's not the fault. Thank you so much. That's not the fault of the liability of the owner of the shar. So what did Sumcha say? Whenever you have a suffix, you would split it without a shvua. And in our Mishnah, clearly we're saying that they're splitting it with a shvua. So that would not be consistent with sumchis. So you want to say that our Mishnah is going to be consistent with their Rabbanan? It's got to be one or the other. We said, so over there, the Nizik has to bring a raya with Adam that the vlad of the para was killed from the Negicha. The Eloi like Avimidi. And if not, he collects nothing. Yet over here, it's Yachloiku. So how will this correspond with the Rabbanan? Zaktamar Haimai. If you want to say that our Gemara is consistent with the Rabbanan, Hasam, the loy tafsid tarvayu, vibat, there aren't two people that are a muchzik in it, Therefore, Amar Rabbanan Moshe Mechaver Olav. That's where the Rabbanan say Moshe Mechaver Olav. One is trying to extract money from the other. The Nizik is trying to extract money from the Mazik. But Acha, the Tarvayu Tavsi, here they're both holding on to it. And therefore, I'm not trying to take away from you. You're not trying to take away from me by taking half. Therefore, Palgila Bishvu. So that will fit very well according to Rabbanan. As Rashi says, Hachi Yosy, the Yavet Bishlam Rabbanan, Hasam Deloy Tavsi Tarvayu, where there's not a tefisa by both of them. In the case of the shore, they're Amar Rabbanan. That's where the Rabbanan said, but Hachzud Tafsi Tarvayu, here that both people are holding on to the talis, Palgi Bishvua. They will split it with a shvua. Back into the Gemara, if you go like Sumchus who holds Mammon and Mutal B'Savik Echloiku without a shvua, so Frek Gemara Hashta, Umahos, Madach over there, the Loi Tafsi Tarvayu. They're both not being toivish in it. As a matter of fact, there's a real Moitzi Mechavere over here. The Nizik is trying to make the Mazik pay. Nevertheless, we say Cholkim B'Lo Shvua. Without a Shvua, we force the Baal Ashur to pay half. Hachi the Tavayu Tavsila. Here, where they're both actually holding on to it, like again, surely you should say that they should split it without a Shvua. As Rashi says, nevertheless, Amar Sumchus Palgi Beloy Shvua, Hacha the Tavsi Tavayu, like again, surely they should. Tavsi Tavayu Tavsi Rashi, the Ein Kan Moitzi Mechavera. That is the point. The point of the matter is, if I'm being Moitzi Mechavera, there Sumcha says that you could be Chaluk without a Shvua, even though I'm able to make you pay me half, even though you're a Muchzik without a Shvua. Kol Shekain, if I'm a Muchzik in half and you're a Muchzik in half, Kol Shekain, I should be entitled to take my half without a Shvua. So therefore, it's not, our mission is not consistent with Sumchas, because Sumchas would have said, Yachloiku B'Lo Shvua. No. It's possible that even Sumchas, who there says Yachloiku without a Shvua, would agree over here that Cholkim B'Shvua. Why? Kiyamar Sumchas was Shema B'Shema. In the case of Shema B'Shema, nobody was there standing where the Nagicha occurred. The Mazik is speculating. I think, prove me. If you want me to pay you, I'm going to argue that my animal, when it touched your animal, the baby was already dead. And therefore, I'm not responsible for it. But he's not sure, he wasn't there. And the Nizik said, no, maybe it was there, you should pay me. So since neither one is coming with a taina of Bari, either one is coming with a taina of Shema, that's where there's no Shavu required. Aval Bari Ubari. But here, each person is claiming with certainty, I found it first. Loy Omar. There, maybe Sumchas did not say his halacha. As Rashi says, Shema b'Shema, kihosam, like in the case of the Nagicha, the Katani Nimta Urbra B'Tzida. The Ein Yedua, nobody knows, Imat Shalo Yolda Naka, or Imishi Yolda Naka. And therefore, V'le Mesa Vlad, Machmas HaNagicha Elam Elav. Maybe the Vlad died independent of the Nagicha. The Chivin the Kochad, Shema Ton, since each one is not sure of themselves, how could you make someone swear if he doesn't know? But in our case, where it's Bari Ubari, maybe Sumchus would be agreeable to our Mishnah that you would swear. According to Rabbi who said, the Amar who said, Amar Sumchus Vafilu Bari Ubari. Rabbi Bar Huna said, even if it were a case of Bari Ubari, and Rashi says this is claimed in Metziah here, Daf Kuf. Even in the case of Bari Ubari, Sumcha says, Ichachloku B'Lo Shvua, my ikalamemer, how could you possibly make Sumchas consistent with our Mishnah, who says in the case of Bari Ubari that you need a shvua? Zok Gemara, and here we have a big Rosh Hashiva shear material. You know, sometimes you go to a sightseeing place and there's a sign. This is a Kodak place. This is a place to take a picture, right? So this is a place for a Rosh Hashiva shear. The Zok Gemara, afilu teim is Sumchas. Even if you want to say Sumchas holds about our Mishnah that you do need a shvua, Kiyamar Sumchas. Where does Sumchas say you don't need a shvua? Heicha deika drora the moment. Where there's a drora the moment. Aval heicha the leka drora the moment loy. What is a drora the moment? So let's look at Rashi. Let's look at Tosfos. Rashi drora the moment chisaron moment. Where there's a loss of moment. What does it mean? Shem Yifrazeh Shaloikidin have a chasar moment. If one person is end up paying and he didn't have to, like the case of the mazik, if I'm paying for the dead Vlad, and in fact it wasn't my fault, the Vlad was dead even before my shar, your shar, that would be a chasar moment. But then the Terenu Shaloikidin, but if he would be part of Shaloikidin, Nimtzeh Chashav Vlad Parasai. So either way, there's going to be a loss involved. Maybe that's where Sumcha said Yachleiku B'lo Shvu. But in our case, where maybe there is no loss, maybe there wouldn't be a shvu. Where there is no loss, maybe there would be a shvu, which is counterintuitive, and that's where the Gemara jumps in right away. The opposite story. In that case, in Sumchas' case, where the stakes are so much higher, because someone's bound to be losing money here. Nevertheless, the Ikal Meimer, and there's a start to say, Kula Lamar, the Ikal Meimer, Kula Lamar, still, Sumcha said, meaning we're going to make either the mazik lose by paying what he doesn't have to pay, or we're making the nizik lose by saying that he doesn't get fully paid for what he's entitled to. Still, Sumchas is willing to do that without a shvua. Here, where there's no drar de mamona, because there's a possibility, it is possible that it actually belongs to each of them halfway. So it's possible that there's no loss here. Like again, surely you shouldn't need a shavua to make the chalukah. Zakt Gemara, you're right. Afilu teim sumchas. Really, you can go according to sumchas who holds you don't need a shavua, but shavua who zu is midrabanan he. Maybe the shavua is only a midrabanan. And let's stop before we get into the rabbanan take a shavua, because I think it's incumbent on us to also see Toysus' pshat in Dura Demon. So let's do a quick recap. I feel like we're laying the Megillah. There's one pasuk where they stop and they go back and they read it over. So we'll do that with this thing. So Zok Gemara, why is it that Sumchus holds you don't need a shvua in the case of the suffix when the animal was shtoist, yet in our case where you say achloiku, it's with a shvua. Zok Gemara, afilu teim Sumchus, here Sumchus heicha the ika drora de marmana. Look at what Tosfos says. A very interesting distinction. The second wide line, Hecha the Ika Dwara de Mamana. Perish, what is the definition of Dwara de Mamana? Rashi learned it's a loss of money. That's not what Tosfos says. Tosfos says that the circumstance itself, without even hearing anybody's claim, screams out, this is a suffix. Perish, Shebeloi Tai Noiseyem, Ye Suffix Lebezdin. Just seeing what occurred without even hearing anybody's claim, it's obvious that there's a suffix over here. The yeshel echot tvia chaverei v'loy tainoisa, without even hearing what's going on. Going b'shor shenagach hasapara, like in shor shenagach hasapara, which we learned not too long ago. Umachlif para b'chamor, or in a case where there was a kinyan chalipin done between a para and a chamor, and he made the Mashiach on the Chamar and the Parah died, or the Parah gave birth. And the question is, did this happen before or after the Kinyan? So the halach is, Acharei Shasafik Noilad Me'atzmai, the circumstance itself is the suffix. We don't know when it happened and nobody's there to witness it. So that's a suffix, that's a standalone suffix without even hearing what people have to say. Dinu Sheyachloiku Afilu B'lo Yeshua. That's the svara why you should make a chalukah B'lo Yeshua. But over here, where you need to hear the tinus as to what's going on to know what the argument, what the suffix is here. Zok the Gemara, Fakeret. Durara the Mamana is a reason why you should swear, and still Sumcha says you don't swear. So Zok Taisus, what does that mean? Umahasam the Durara the Mamana. In Sumcha's case, Shaboloi Taisus same Yesavik Lebezdin, Vikul Kula Demar, Loi Parach Ella. We're only asking so there's another factor in here. This would only work out if this is going to be a little bit complex. Well, let's try doing it anyway. This is only a good kasha if Sumchas is going to hold like the Rabbanan of Bananas, right? The Rabbanan of Bananas said, even though it's possible that one of these two people are going to swear false, we're not concerned. The Bananas, Adarab, according to Bananas, Heichad Ikal Meimar, Kula Demar, it would be Palke Beloishvo. According to Bananas, the Svar is the moment we're saying it's possible to belong to each guy, and now each guy is swearing they'll for sure be a Shavua Shavir, that wouldn't be allowed anyway. So this only works if you don't hold like Bananas. Okay, fine. Actually, Tysus brings the whole thing of cold olive Bava. Okay, so we have the two svaras of what Drar the moment is. Drar the moment is either, like Tysus says, just the circumstance, just watching the video, and if you can watch the video even on mute, you'll see the suffix. But in our sugya, you have to watch the video with sound to realize that there's a suffix here to understand what the situation is. So Dr. Gemara, at the end of the day, why really Sumchus would hold the Ikar Din, Shavua is not necessary. You say Achloika below Shavua, but here it's a Derabanan. What is this Derabanan all about? Dr. Gemara, Keder Rabbi Yochanan. The Rabbi Yochanan, Shavua Zu, Takanas Chachamim Hi, it's simply at Takanas Chachamim, Shalo Yehei, Kol Echad Ve'echad, Hoylech V'toikev B'talisha Shachavei, V'omer Shali. If you would say, Mamana Mutl B'savik Achloiku, below Shavua, then it would be very easy. Anytime I wanted, I would go grab a guy's bucket and say I found it first. And this will be a disaster. So the Shavua is to discourage this type of activity. Kavaltik. It seems like our Mishnah would not be consistent with Rabbi Yosy. Who's Rabbi Yosy? The Rabbi Yosy, if you want to suggest that our Mishnah is consistent with Rabbi Yosy, Ha'amari said, Imkain ma hifsed a Ramai. He has this concept that if the Ramai has nothing to lose, then you're creating an unfair situation. You have to create a situation where the Ramai could lose, and therefore he'll say the truth, and we'll see what the case is. Therefore, Rabbi Yossi says, whenever you have such a case, so let's have a look. Let's have a look at Rabbi Yossi. Zok Rashi, Rabbi Yossi lekaman ma'mafkid. Shnaim shefkidu etolechad. Two people gave somebody money to watch. So let's say Shimon and Levi each gave money to Ruvain to hold for them. Zemona, let's say Shimon gave a money. The Zemasayim and Levi gave 200. So now the Shomer has $300 here. 200 of it belongs to Shimon, and 100 of it, 100 belongs to Shimon, and 200 belongs to Levi. But Ruvain doesn't know clearly who gave him what. Ze'omer Masayim Shali. Of course, one fellow says that the 200 is mine. They're both claiming that the $200 package is theirs. The Tanakama says, how do you deal with this situation? You give each one a money because that's surely they gave. And the Mammon HaMutal B'Sofik is the last $100. Therefore, the other monies, the last 100, we don't know who belongs to. Let it sit until Eliyahu comes and tells us who is the real mafkid. Yes, that's right. Rabbi Yossi said that's not fair because it became my hefster Ramai. The guy who only put 100 in, what does he lose? Because in fact, I'm not out any money. So that's not fair. You got to put the squeeze on everybody. He got his 100 anyway. Ella, Rabbi Yossi holds a coil yemunach. No one's getting a penny until we know who gets what. Now the Ramai is also under pressure. He also has an incentive to admit the truth because otherwise he's going to get nothing. So how come you don't say over here as well? They're both fighting over it. I have not. If I'm the liar and really I know the other guy got it first, so everything should be. So what do you want to say? That our Mishnah is going to be consistent with the Rabbanon? Kivin Dami Rabbanon. Since the Rabbanon said Hashar Yemunach Atziyav Elio, the part that's a suffix, the $100 of the suffix, that is Munach at Chiyav Elio. Well, Hanami Kishar Dami. This that they're arguing about is the Sha'ar. So you should also say Yemunach at Chiyav Elio. Hanami Kishar Dami, the Sveikahi. As Rashi says, Hanami Kishar Dami, the Hatzam Almanas Almana Hasheni, him done. The discussion is the Mana Hasheni. The Elu Danin Al Talas Kula. Whatever the subject matter is, that's going to be Yemunach. So Oibazoi, how does the Rabbanon fit with our Mishnah? There's a very big difference. If you want to suggest that our Mishnah is going according to the Rabbanon, we could explain this, how it would work. Because Hasam, Devadai, Haimana, the Chadminayu, it's for sure that this mana belongs either to Shimon or to Levi. As Rashi says, Yachloiku will for sure be wrong. You have them split it, you're 100% sure that you're doing the wrong thing. Nevertheless, Amir Rabbanon, the Rabbanon still said, Yemunach Achiyav Eliyahu, Hacha, the Ikala Meimar, the Tevayuhu. Here there's a possibility that it belongs to both of them. Amir Rabbanon, the Rabbanon said, Palgi b'shvua. Here you split it with a shvua because it's possible that it's true. It's possible that it's true. But if you're going to say that, if you're going to try to claim that our mission is consistent with Rabbi Yosy, I'll say hashta uma hosam the bevada ikaman lamar. In the case of the money, where it's without any doubt, it's clear that each person gets at least one mana. Nevertheless, Rabbi Yosy yemunach achiyave Eliyahu. Nevertheless, everything gets put away until Eliyahu comes. Hach in our Mishnah, the ikalamemer the chadminayu. There's a very significant chance that it belongs only to one of them. As Rashi says, right? It's possible one guy got it first. That's actually the more likely. Situation. Like Kolshkin, surely you should say Yemunach Achiyav Eliyahu. Like Kolshkin, the less Yachloiku, surely you shouldn't say Yachloiku at all. So to Gemara, no, Afilu Tema Rabbi Yosy. Let's claim that it could be consistent with Rabbi Yosy. Hasam Vada Ikaramai. In that case, we know for sure there's a Ramai here. Someone is for sure lying. We don't mind sanctioning, even though everyone's going to get stuck without anything, but at least the Ramai is going to be hurting as well. But Hacha Miyemar Dika Ramai. We don't know for sure that there's a Ramai. It's likely that there's a Ramai, but there is a possibility. It's very possible that, in fact, they did both pick it up at the same time. When do we say Mahifsad a Ramai? That's if we know for sure that there is a Ramai. But over here, it's not so sure that there's a Ramai. Maybe there's no Ramai at all. And therefore, maybe if it's not so sure that there's a Ramai, there Rabbi Yosy would not say Yemunach Achiyav Eliyahu. Inami. Or I can make a different distinction between Rabbi Yosy's halacha and our Mishnah. Hasam kanisle Rabbi Yosy the Ramai. There Rabbi Yosy is bedavka sanctioning and canceling the Ramai. You get nothing to pressure the Ramai kihecha deloidi. But hacha my pseida is deloidi. Even if you say Yemunach Achiyav Eliyahu, I still have nothing to lose. I started off with nothing. So here it wouldn't even work. Zokt Rashi, my pseida islay, lemisha ein lechelikba. The guy who taka didn't pick it up. The guy who came later and seized it. What does he lose? Imtehemunachas. He's no further behind than he is now. The loidi shein lechelikba. It won't help him. But in the case of Rabbi Yosy, at least the Ramai will get his $100 back. So there's an incentive for him to be moida. Here the Yemunach would not be an incentive. So it's not even a Yemunach and Psak. It's a sanction. It's like a Takana Darabban, like a sanction. Let's inflict pain on both parties, so both parties have an incentive to be moida. I understand Metziah. You could say that he has no loss here. But the Mekach HaMemkar, Michael Memar. What are you going to say about Mekach HaMemkar? Zok Rashi, Ho Kimna, we just said on Amid Beis, the Kibel Domim Mitravayu. It's speaking where both people paid. So if both people paid, then I will be hurting because I want my money back. We have Arminon, Yeatalos Ve'adomim Munachim. If you would say Yemunach Achiyav Eliyahu, well then Islay Pseid Ramai. There is a Pseid Ramai. The Yoidalem is Kodim Shiavsin. So maybe Rabbi Yosy, at least in the case of Mekach HaMemkar, should have disagreed with our Mishnah and should have said that there you do say Yemunach, because now both parties are hurting, and then the losing party will have an incentive to be money. So that teretz, that last svara that we said, the inami is not a good teretz because it does not explain how Rabbi Yosy could agree with our Mishnah by the case of Mekach HaMemkar. Kedishanidin meikara. So we'll have to go back to the original pshat. That was Hasam Vada Ikarama. If there's Vada Rama, you're going to sanction. Here it's possible that there is no Rama at all, and there Rabbi Yosy does not sanction. Zok to Gemara, Bein leRabbanon uvein leRabbi Yosy. Whether you hold like the Rabbanon or whether you're like Rabbi Yosy, Hasam Gabichemveni al Pankasei. In the case of Chemveni al Pankasei, so that was the case that Rashi explained to us earlier, where the Balabais instructed the Chemveni, give my employees $1,000 their pay, and the Chemveni comes to the Balabais, says, okay, I paid them, please pay me. The workers come to the Balabais and says, hey, we weren't paid yet. You also have to pay us. So what is the halacha there? The Katani we learned, Zen Nishba B'Noitel, Zen Nishba B'Noitel. The Chemveni could swear that he faithfully executed what the Balabais wanted, and he paid the Poyalim, so he's entitled to be paid. The Poyalim are saying, we worked for you, we never got paid. They're entitled to get paid at all. So the problem is, Ma'ishna, the Loyamrinon, Nafke Lamamanam Balabais. Let's make the Balabais pay only once. Let him put that money in escrow. Because the Bavada Ikaramai, there's for sure a Ramai. Either the Chemveni paid or he didn't pay. If he paid, surely the Poyalim are lying. If he did not pay, then he's lying. So that's the perfect place to sanction. Put the money there and say nobody gets any. So Gemara, Amri, Hasam Hanyu Taima, over there, you know why? There's no Munach HaChavalio. Is the Amalei Chemveni LeBalabayis. The Chemveni will tell the Balabayis, listen, Anosh Lichus Adidach Kavit. I follow the shlichus that you asked me to do. My isli gabe schir. Why do I have to be fighting over here with your employee? I don't have a deal with your employee. I have a deal with you. And I fulfilled our contract. Don't mix me in with him. I'm not part of his situation. It's not like I'm fighting with you who died first. I'm not fighting with you who gave you the money. This is between me and you. You asked me to do a job. I did it. So therefore, Aval Gav, the Kamishtabili, even if the schir is going to swear that he wasn't paid, Loy Mehameli B'Shua. I have nothing with him and I don't trust him. I want you to pay me. Atem and Tia. Sorry? Yeah. Atem and Tia. You're the one who believed me. The Loy Amritli B'Sahadi. You believed your workers. The Loy Amritli B'Sahadi Havle. If you didn't trust your employees, I don't trust your employees. I have nothing to do with your employees. I trust you. I paid. If you didn't trust your employees, then you should have told me when you pay them, get a signature. When you pay them, make sure they date them. You didn't tell me to do that. You trusted them. I didn't trust them. So don't make me responsible for this. And the worker will tell their balabais same thing. I'm a little balabais. I'm not avdi avid. All I know is that I put in a good full day's work for you. I have no business with the Chemveni fighting. I don't care if he swears that he paid. So if he bought, this is not one case here. There's two separate things going on over here, and each one of the toivet to both the Chemveni as well as the poil can say, don't mix me in with Yenim. Therefore, they both get to swear and take from the Balabayis. The Chemveni is like a banker. I'm asking you to lay out the money from him. You have a prior relationship with the company? He probably does. Otherwise, why would the Chemveni lay out the money to a total stranger? So the Chemveni has a relationship with the Balabais that has nothing to do with the workers, and the workers have a relationship with the Balabais. But the Chemveni and the workers have nothing to do with each other. Let's see Rashi. The name you know why? The Chemveni Omer la Balabais. The Chemveni will tell the Balabais, Anosh lichuzot didachati. I did your job. And I gave them exactly the money that you told me to give them. Why would I have to be fighting with Schir? I have nothing to do with it. I don't even trust him. I don't care if he swears. I don't trust him. You trust him. I believe he's in Russia. And he would swear falsely. You can't force me to accept a shavua from some total stranger. If there was a prior relationship, I've already exhibited that I trust a guy. I gave him something to watch. So then he believed with a shvuah that I gave it back. But here, I have nothing to do with your work. You can't make me believe you're working with a shua or the Hasna Sima.
Our relationship with the banker. Obviously, the work is working for a while.
But
you go with your TD to a kind of to a different bank. Die darfst kein da darfst du lernen. Yeah.
so Atamante, the Atahu Shakil Kalta. You Balabais, you made a mistake. You allowed me to release money to this low life, but you trusted him. I didn't trust him. The Ainli Lahavsid Bikal Kulach. Why should I lose? Because you trusted these people who are not trustworthy. Why do I have to suffer? I was careful. I dealt with somebody who I trust, and I trust. You can't make me suffer for them. You have a relationship with them, so you suffer for them. Okay, Zok Gemara weiter. Tani Reb Chia, Mana li biyatcha. Reuven goes to Shimon and says, "You owe me $100." And Shimon says, "Ein lach biyadi klum. I owe you 0." And the Edom say that you're wrong, Shimon. You do owe him 50. He asked you for 100. He doesn't have proof of the 100, but he does have proof on the 50. So the loch is noisin like chamishim sus. Now he has to pay the 50 because there's Edom that say Shimon knows Reuven the 50. What about the other 50? V'yishava al ashar, and he's going to have to swear for the rest, as Rashi's kedin moedim b'miktas atayna. Shamatar yishava. The loch is if you mon me 100 and I say I owe you 50, I actually have to give you 50, and I have to swear about the other 50. Here, the Reb Chia quotes a brisa that says there was no moedim b'miktas. There was just Edom, and even though there was just Edom, you still have to swear. He was not moida, but Harei yesh Edom b'miktas. You have Edom b'miktas, and as the Gemara says, v'loy sehei aydayis piv gedoyla l'chayv el ashar shvua me'edos Edom. If his own mouth admitting about 50 that he owes will be mechayiv meshua, surely Edom, which are neman which are neman have a pure nemanish, surely their nemanish should also be mechayiv meshua. So zok to brayza v'yishav l'ashar shaloi te'ei aydayis piv gedoyla me'edos Edom, and we know it from a kavachomer. The kavachomer is very simple. That actually Rashi says l'kamon nefarish my kavachomer. The Gemara is going to articulate the kavachomer. The Tana Tuna, and Rashi says the Tana Didon Siyata Ladidi. We have another brisa that's going to actually support this assumption that if there's Edom on half, the nitva has to swear on the other half. And what's the Tana? Amish Shnai Moshe Metalis. Zaymer Nimit Tzia. Zaymer Nimit Tzia. What is the relevance? And we know they both have to swear. So v'hahacha in our Mishnah, given the toughest, the moment someone was toiv half of it, Anan Sahadi, it's as if there's Edom, the mighty toughest Hadi Dehu, mighty toughest Hadi Dehu. Right? We have a halacha of a mochi mechaveri all of our raya. Each one is a musach and half. So it's as if each one has Edom that says that half belongs to him. As Rashi says, Didehu Shari Muchsek Hu B'Fanenu. Each person here is a muchsek on half. Vareu Tavei Skula. So literally he's asking for 100, but he's only holding on to 50. Even what you're holding on is mine. And we have Edom because of the Amocha Mechaver of Haraya. And each one's a muchsek on 50. So Anan Sadi to my Tavas Adi Deyu. My Tavas Adi Deyu, the Katani Yeshava. So you have a raya to the brisa that the Priya brought that also Edom on Mixas will be Mechayev. Now for the Gemara, what was that Kavachomer you were talking about? My Shaloi Tehei, Haidas Piv, Gedoyla Maidas Edom, the Kavachomer. What was this Kavachomer you're talking about? As Rashi says, Mehecha Teisalon, Lemedak. Where do you make this assumption? The Teisaka died? Why would you think that Idos Piv would be stronger than Idos Edom? The Izrach Tanel Melach Mikavachomer, the Loite Idos Piv Gedoyim. In other words, the default would be that Idos Edom is a stronger Nemonis than someone being Moeded. So if that's the case, why don't you Kavachomer? Obviously, there's a tzad to say that maybe Idos Piv should be better. So Zog to Gemara, Shaloi Taimar Idos Piv. What the brisa means to tell us is don't make the following claim. Haidas piv, who the Ramya Rachmana Shavuale. It's only when you're a Maida will the Torah be Mechayiv Yeshua, Kidarabba, because of Rabba's Svar that we once had. It's a psychology lesson. The fact that he was Maida indicates that he's not really a crook. He's just trying to push it off. That's what it's all about. Because really, really a person would never, in the face of his Bachoiv, lie and deny what a favor was done for him and deny it in full. And therefore, he wants to, if he would be a real crook, he would want to deny the whole thing. But like Kafrin, why didn't he deny the whole thing? He has some level of decency left. He doesn't have the chutzpah to deny everything when he just borrowed money from this guy. This guy did him a favor, bailed him out, and now he's lying to the guy's face. That's not going to happen. So really, he has a conscience. So if he has a conscience, why isn't he being moida on everything? Really, he wants to say, yes, you're right, I owe you the money. So why is he denying it? It's only because ishtamute who the kamashtamut minay. He's trying to push it off. Savar, 50 of the 100 I have. So I'm going to be moida, I'll give him right away. The other 50 I'll deny. I won't pay. But if when I get the money, I'm going to pay. It's just a delay tax. Savar ada havalizuzo paranale. So for that, he's an erlich guy. He's willing to fudge it a little bit in order to push off, but to cross such a red line and to swear false, he'd never do that. This way he'll be moida, because that red line he wouldn't cross. So that's why there's a svara, why there should be a chiv moida b'mikdas. It's not a question of the manas. It's a psychology. The person was moida b'mikdas, meaning he's the type of guy who wouldn't lie for a shvua would push him over the edge to be moida. Abladah say to him, if he was takakoy for a koil, he has no problem lying. So the fact that you have Adam that says that you owe partially, the lekal hachi aim a lie. Maybe you shouldn't swear because this guy's not never b'shvua. He might be a liar. You see, he was koy for a koil. Kamash malon kavachim. So kamash malon the kavachim that he has to swear. Well, now the question is, what is the kavachim? There's a very good psychological reason why we shouldn't let him swear. So my kavachim. So what will the kavachim be? Zok to Gemara, uma piv she'ein mechayve moment. Mechayve shvua, madich his own mouth, which will never be mechayve moment behind the asay, and we'll see why. Nevertheless, it could be mechayve mashvua, like in the case of moed b'mitzas. Edim shemechayve noisei moment. Edim that could be mechayve moment on what they were made upon. Ein oidin shemechayve noisei shvua. So the svara is like your pet will not be mechayve moment. Yet it will be mechayiv you a shvua. We're going to need an explanation. What do you mean the pet is not mechayiv a moment? The 50 that he was made on, it is being mechayiv him. So we're going to have to deal with that. But madach the pet that's not mechayiv a moment, it will be mechayiv him a shvua on what he's not being made on. Adam that will be mechayiv a moment. The haraya, the Adam were mechayiv him 50% when they said he owes 50%. Surely the Adam should also be mechayiv him a shvua. For Gemara, what do you mean? Upiv ain't mechayiv a moment? What do you mean this piv is not mechayiv a moment? We know the halach is v'haidos baldin kamei edim dam. So his piv is mechayiv mammon. So there goes your whole kavachomer. Zok Gemara, my mammon knas. When we say piv is not mechayiv mammon, it means you'll never be chayiv to pay a knas if you're moida. That we know. So that now let's look at the kavachomer. Umapiv shein mechayiv knas. Madach piv that's not mechayiv. Whenever you're moida be knas potter. Nevertheless, mechayiv shvua, it will be mechayiv shvua on the half that you're denying. Edim shemechayv noisei knas. Edim who will be mechayv knas. Ein oidin shemechayv noisei shvua. Surely they should be mechayv him shvua. Okay, let's have a look over here. Haidos baldin. Kamei edim dami is a brayse with the seventh about Metziah per Rishon. Piv ein mechayv knas. The alfinon mikroi the moed b'knas potter. We have psukim that say moed b'knas potter. Ashishim el him prat the Mashiach satz. Zok to Gemara. It's not a good kavach. Mala piv. Shekei mechayv carbon. Piv might not be mechayv maknas, but piv could be mechayv your carbon, right? We know if you swear false and then you're moida, you bring a carbon. Edim will never be mechayv your carbon. Timer by Edim, shein mechayv is a carbon. So then maybe the fact that a piv can be mechayv a carbon, that's what's mechayv a shvua. But Edim can't be mechayv a carbon. So maybe therefore it shouldn't be mechayv a shvua. So that's not fair. Because Rabchia Krab Meir Svirle, the Ada, the Amar, the Mechayiv Moshe Carbon. In fact, the Bechil Otak Meir who holds that if Adam came and said you swore false, that would also be Mechayiv him a carbon. So Rashi Piv Mechayiv a carbon, the Chsiv, Visvada Shechata Behavi. So that's the Piv. Adam ain't Mechayiv a carbon, if he denies it. But we're going to go like a Meir who holds that even Adam and Mechayiv carbon, it's not. We looked at the Mishnah. Amrulai. Let's try to make a run for it. Amrulai. Shnaim. Two Adam told him, Achalta chelav. You ate chelav. B'shogig, of course. Because you bring a carbon for shogig. But who Aimer? And he says, Lo yachalti. I did not eat. I did not eat. So the halacha is, Rashi's potter. Why is he potter? Shayachal Mezer Yisi. He could have said Mezer Yisi. And then be potter in a carbon. Because the Adam can't say testimony on what I was thinking. They can only say testimony on what I did. Therefore, he's even neman if he directly contradicts the Adam, says he didn't eat his potter, the Malay Lashakar. If he didn't want to bring a carbon, he has a way out of it. But if Meir holds Mechayiv, if Meir holds, he does Mechayiv a carbon, the Chum Poitri. So Amar Meir said, it may be you, if two people, two Adam could actually get him killed, right? If they say Adam on him that he did something that's Mechayiv Misa, Lo Yiviyeyu, the carbon akal, surely the Adam should be Neman to be Mechayiv Mekarbon. Amuloi, the Rabban told him no. Mam Yirshaloimar, Mezer Yisi Potter. He could have said Mezer Yisi. And if he said Mezer Yisi, he's Potter. So therefore, he should be believed as well to say that I didn't do it. Ella, Ma Lepiv, Shekei Mechayiv Asham. Let's say that his pair could be Mechayiv and Asham. So to Gemara, what do you mean Asham Hanim Carbon? That's the same thing as we've been discussing. His piv is mechayiv mechaimish, because right, if he swore falsely that he doesn't owe money, and in fact he owes it, and he's moidi pays a chaimish, but the Adam wouldn't be mechayiv him a chaimish. So the Gemara halakasha, Abchiyakar Meir Shvirlei, Kihechad mechayiv le carbon mikabel chaimer, mechayiv le chaimish mikabel chaimer. Abchiyakar halakar Meir who holds that you know what, the same way he's chayiv a carbon. He would also pay a chaimish. So therefore, you still have the good kavul chaimer. I think we have to stop here because I'm almost pushing on chakras. Okay, so we finished most of Daf Gimel. So I'm going to learn Daf Gimel anyway tomorrow. But those who learned it now, I guess you can get an extra hour of sleep. And Motzei Shabbos, I'm not going to be able to say it and record it, so that's why I said it now. Okay, everyone should have a wonderful Shabbos, a gebench the Shabbos, and should have the hype in the Shabbos. You know, the first two Aliyahs in Kisisa are very, very long. Kohen and Levi are very, very long, and the whole story of the Egel is between Kohen and Levi, and then the rest of the Aliyahs are small little Aliyahs, so we use them most of the parsha. How come it's not broken up evenly? So the Vel says, could you imagine if you do something wrong, and your wife, every time you do something wrong, she remembers every Aveira you ever did, right? Hashem is not that way. Hashem doesn't want to stick the Yisrael's nose into the Egel. The Kohen and Levi, they didn't do the Egel. So let them get that Aliyah. They don't feel so uncomfortable. And let's call up the Yisrael when it's not so uncomfortable. Yeah.